everyone. The other day I posted this card on the Thirsty Brush & Co Facebook group, and I was asked about my colouring with the Himi watercolour pencils. So what I thought I'd do is make this card again but using a different stamp and show you how I use the pencils. So we're going to be using the Carter watercolour paper from Stamps by Me, and we're going to be using the Tell Me a Story Magnolia stamps because I absolutely love them, and we will be using the Himi watercolour pencils, which I've really fallen in love with. I'm using them constantly. So to start off, what I've done with has cut a 2-inch strip of card, and this is the watercolour card, and I'm just going to go over it with my anti-static bag. This gets rid of any grease from your fingers, so the embossing powder won't stick to those greasy fingerprints. We all get them, even if we've just washed our hands. You've got so much grease on your skin. So I'm going to start off at the bottom here. Just put my magnets here just to hold it. So I'm going to heat emboss with a watermark stamp pad, and we're going to use, I'm going to use the Wow Gold metallic embossing powder. So Versamark pad on the stamp. I'm also using the Eureka because I might not manage to get a good impression the first time, and the beauty with the Eureka is I'll get a perfect one. I think I've pressed. Try that one, that looks a bit better. So just a piece of copy of paper underneath. Bit of the gold. It's perfect. Pop that back in the pot. And I'm not going to heat set that yet, so I'm going to carry on going up my strip. So I'm just going to turn the stamp around and I'm going to use it in that direction. So again, using the Eureka and the watermark pad, put some on the stamp, give it a firm press. Yep, that looks perfect again. I always use the Eureka now because guaranteed if I didn't use the Eureka I wouldn't do it perfect first time. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to do one more and then I'll heat set it, and then do the top of the card where I've been touching. So I'm going to put that one this way now, like so. So you don't have to use the whole stamp, just use bits of it. Just gives you another way to use them. Perfect. So, and the glue stays wet for a while, so there's no chance of your embossing powders moving. Here we go, that's lovely. Actually I could get away with doing another one there before I heat it, so I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to swap the stamp now. I'm going to swap the stamp for this one. I'm going to place that about there. Yep, that's perfect there. So I don't want to be covering any I've just done, but that would be perfect. Okay, so again, using the Versamark just put a little bit more on there. So that's why I use the Eureka. Perfect every time then. There you go. Lovely. So I'll just pop the embossing powder on that bit. That's lovely. There you are. So I'll heat set that now, and then I'll do the top bit. So with your heat tool, turn it on, make sure it's hot just before you start using it. Doesn't take long to warm up. Okay, so just point it at the card, don't wave it about because that doesn't help. So as soon as you see the embossing powder turn, move the gun, and once it starts to heat, you're away in no time. So you'll see it go from a matte to a shiny. So we're nearly there. Well, so that's that done. So I'm just going to use my anti-static again on the top because that's where I've been holding it, picking it up. So that's where my fingerprints are. So just rub some of that on there. Just blow off some of that powder. Right, and put my magnets down here. And then I'm going to change the stamp now let's put that one in there. Like that. I have to move it over a little tad there so I can get that in place there. Okay, so I've got a bit of a twist on my, there you go. So there we go. So I'm just using the watermark again. And then give it a firm press. Just do it once more, just to make sure it is there. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. So that's it. Give it a bit of a flick on the back. Perfect. Put your lid on your embossing powder so you don't knock it off. Then wait for them to get warm. It won't take long as we've just used it. Done. So I'm just going to stamp out a image that I'm going to add to the front of the card like I did here. So I used this Thirsty Brush & Co stamp on that card. So I'm going to use, I think actually I'm going to use two, and I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use that one. Like so. Let's take that one off. Pop that to one side a minute. So I'm going to do the two at once here. So anti-static bag. And firm press. Yeah, I can see it's done, but I'm just gonna give it one more just for luck. There we go. So again with the gold embossing powder, just going to run that over there. Slide it down. Just a bit with it. There you go. Just going to pop that back in the container. Like so. Lid on. Because I'm fantastic at knocking things over. I'm just going to move the Eureka to the side. Lid on the glue. And then again heat. So remember, as soon as it's changed colour, move the end of the gun. So we're nearly there. That's it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to choose one of my watercolour pencils now, and I'm going to use a purple. I think so. I'm going to go for. I don't want a darker. I might go for a light purple for the small and a dark then for the. So I'm just going to sharpen my pencils a minute. So I like the pencils to have a nice nib on them, especially when you're using the embossing powders, because you do get very tight areas, and then that way the pencil will get in that area. Okay, so I'm going to zoom you in so you can see how I watercolour. So right, let's try that. So I'm going to go in with the pencil just along the bottom of the petal all the way round, and then along the bottom of the petal here and the bottom of the petal. Oh, I'm pressing a little bit too hard. And then where these marks are at the top is where there would be a little bit of colour, a little bit of shading. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour there too. But it would be most darkest at the bottom of the flower where the petals all join by the bud. So that's where I'm putting the majority of the colour. So then a water brush or paintbrush, whatever you prefer, and a rag. Excuse the state on my rag because I use it for everything. Oh, you can't see that. Oh, that's good. Right, so just dab off the excess water off your paintbrush. And I like to start at the top where the tiniest bit of colour is and bring it down into where the bud of the flower is. So wipe off any of that excess water as well, don't forget, because you don't want the paper to be flooding. And then just gently drag into the colour at the bottom, so because you still want that to be dark. So I'm hoping you can all, oh yeah, can you see? Sorry. So and then if you get too much dark on your paintbrush, you can just re-wet it, take off some of that colour. So I drag from the top and push down into the colour where it would be the most darkest. Everybody does this differently. You've just got to find what you're comfortable. See, that way I've just dragged a little bit of the colour up for my petal and then dragging it back down into where it would be darkest. So again, I'm just going to drag some of that up and bring it back down into where the darker colour would be. So can you see? Ooh. It's gone out of focus, too close perhaps, there you go. Is that better? So can you see that? So you're just bringing the colour to the base of the petal. Okay, so let's try that again on this one. Okay, so just using the colour at the bottom where the bed of the flower is, and up where you can see the embossing, just a little bit of colour there. These pencils are quite highly pigmented, so you don't need to use a lot, but you can always go back in afterwards and add more if you want to. This would be dark up here. Okay. So again, water on your paintbrush, but dab off any of the drips. So I'm just going to drag a little bit of the colour from the edges round, and then keep the dark bit in the centre. This bit up here is going to be dark as well. Trim my brush off, and then I'm just going to take that colour from there and I'm going to drag that round the whole of the petal and then bring it down into where the dark is, like so. And again, because there's not much colour on my brush, there we go, like so. And again, just taking that colour from the top and bringing it down into the base of the petal. So I'm just going to take some of the colour from the side, up, and then bring down into the base of the petal. And just turn that round so I can work from the other direction. Yeah, don't forget to turn your artwork just to make it a bit more comfortable for you. And if you haven't tried this new watercolour paper from Tony, you must. It leaves none of the pencil lines at all. And I'm just going to, with a darker pencil, I'm just going to scribble over the gold embossing there, the centre of the bud. There we go. And then just colour in the centre. There we go. The embossing will resist the water and drop the colour in all the gaps. Okay, we'll do that again. So I've got the darker purple on my brush, so I'm just going to go over the centre of that flower. So I'm just going to add a bit of the light into the bottom of the petals again. And as I'm here, I'm just going to add a little bit to the top of that one and to the top of this one, and then at the bottom and to the top and to the top of the bud there. So you can just add the colour to all the flowers and then just go round with your brush. So you can see I'm hardly using any coloured pencil here. The water's going to do all the work with these pencils. So I'm just going to take a little bit in there. like so, and a little bit to this top of this bud there. Okay, so I'm going to leave the buds for now, and I'll show you why in 2 seconds when I just give this a bit of a like so. So just drag a tiny bit of the colour out for the actual petal, and making sure all the colour is at the bottom of the petal. But seriously, just have a play and see, you know, watch a couple of YouTube channels and see what you think. Just try and get used to whatever works for you. Okay, so go on to this one. So that's nearly done. Okay, right, I think that's pretty much. Get too close in it. Okay. So I'm going to get a green, and I like the sage greens. So what I'm going to do it now is I am just going to put a little bit of green at the bottom of the buds and on the leaves and the stems. So it'd be green there, be green at the bottom. Bottom of the buds, I always tend to do green. Missed that. Forgot that one. Right. Let me just colour this flower in. I missed that one off the end. Okay. So green, just blending it up to the blue and blending, or purple, and then blending it down back into the green. So the green, just blending it up into the purple and then bringing it back down into the green. Green, purple, green, green, up into the purple, back down into the green. And then you get a nice blend of the two colours. And then this bit here wants to be a bit darker in there. Just add a little bit of the darker in the centre there. And in the centre here. Lovely. Okay. So I just put that one to one side now. I'll zoom out again. And then we'll bring in the full image here. So I'll zoom in. So I'm going to use a little bit of a darker one now for the main image on the card. So I'm just going to use the dark at the bottom of the petal. And then a little bit at the top of the petals where they've curled over. A tiny bit up there. So again, I'm using very, very little pencil. And you don't have to press too hard. Just bring that up around there. So a little bit of purple at the top of the buds, so I can blend it in with the green again. And then in with my green, a little bit at the bottom. And just zoom out a little bit there, just in case I turn it and it doesn't get into. So I'm just going to start bringing the colour out, but making sure the darkness of the purple stays in around the bottom of the petal. Okay, so just bring a little bit of it, the colour up, and then blend that out with the water. I need to turn that, sorry. And then bringing your wet brush back into the base. It goes a little bit more darker up there where the shading's already be put in for you. So just drag a tiny bit of the colour, so you want that really faint, and then I might want a little bit up there. Be round there like that. So it's really just playing. We all like playing. Just bringing it back in. So I'm only picking up the tiniest bit of colour from the bottom. Okay. I'm quite impressed with this watercolour card, mate. I got tickly throat, sorry guys, to get something for it. And the last petal on this one. Okay, we just add a little, forgot to add a little bit of green down there and on this one. So okay, so green into the purple and back down into the green. Just blending the two colours together. I'm making sure I get all the areas. Because that's how the buds would be, I think, in the wild. They'd start off green, don't they? And then they turn into that beautiful colour. I guess that's one. So I'll just do this top one as well. And then we can put it together. So I'm just going to colour down. Let me just turn it round so I don't get my finger in that watercolour, the one that we've just done. So I'm going to use the green for the stem, so you could use brown. That's the bud, and then the darker purple then. So again, just add in a little bit of colour around the bottom. That might be a little bit darker there where the petal overturns. There'll be a little bit along the top. There. And I'm really not putting much of the colour down at all. Okay. Just going to go a little bit quicker with this one. Into the centre of the flower. Like so. So just grab a little bit of the colour up into each petal and then back down into the dark area. You don't want your brush soaking wet, you only want it damp really. So leave me a little note in my comments below on what you think, and hopefully I'll be able to get more videos done now. I'm hoping to be doing a little bit of a road show with workshops as well soon, so it'd be nice if I could get to meet some of you. Okay. So a little bit of purple now in the top of these buds. And green into the purple. I love this sage green colour that's in the pack. Okay, down the stems. I'm not too worried if it goes over the lines, because I'm going to cut them out now. There we go. Oh, I could just see a petal I've missed. And just add a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I'll just leave that dry a minute whilst we start constructing the card. So I'm just going to zoom back out here for you. Just make sure there's no water there. So I've got a 8x8 cream card, and then I need to trim this down a little bit, I think. Yeah, so I just need to trim that down. Let's trim a bit of the flower off. And then I've got some paper card for matting as well, here and here. Okay, so I'm going to put tape on the back of this instead of glue because it is watercolour card. So I'm just going to put I've cut all my mats in layers. I just put one in the middle there as well. Ready. So I'm just going to, oh, it's the wrong way around, make sure I put the flowers the right way, isn't it? So I just want to have it just underneath that layer there. Just take it off, do it by eye, it's a lot easier. So the mess in. So there you go, it's the first one. And then I'll just tape these ones on as well. So I'm just using a bit of tissue tape because it's easier and quicker, and I'm not the most patient of people. There we go, this one there. Now this side. There we go. So I've tried to match the colours pencils with the paper that I'm using. I'm hoping my head isn't in the way, sorry. Oops. Nearly near enough. And then I've got cream then to layer on that. So I'm going to use some sticky pads for this layer, just for a bit of dimension. One there. Just make sure I haven't got any pencil marks on it before I stick it down. Ooh, too many. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to centralise that there. Okay, like so. Okay, so I'm just going to die cut out these and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've die cut these out now. Just work out where I want to put them. Oh, I need to add a little bit more colour in the centre there. Forgot that one. So brush gone. There we go. Okay. So I might just Yeah, I might go there actually. Like that. So I'm going to use some foam pads again, just on the back of these. I like a bit of dimension in the card. So I'm going to put that one. Just put it there, I think. Yep. And then some on the back of that one. Three I do. Like so. So it's continuing on from the pattern. And then I just need to add a sentiment. So I'll just get my Eureka. I have a little bit of cream card. I'll take these stamps off and back on the carrier sheet. Okay, so just rub that on there. And I'm going to use tell me a story might be a little bit too long, so I just do one. Oh no, I could have tell me a story but there actually. Yeah, we'll do tell me a story. Like so, okay. It's not quite straight. I'll try that. It's too low now. Right, so let's move that up to there, because I've put it straight on the line there now. That'll be perfect, right, so watermark pad. Lovely. Paper, and again with the gold embossing to keep it all together. There we go. Put this back in there. Move that out of the way. And then again, wait for your gun to get hot. So I'm just going to trim that so it sits on the card nicely. A bit of tape on the back of that. Mat it on like so, and then I'll just trim off that up there. Use the ruler with a grip on, might help. Perfect. Like that. Okay, and then just going to use some some of the foam pads on the back of that. Bring the cards back in, and I'm thinking I might put it by there. You could actually put it by there. I'll pop it there. And there you have it. So I'm hoping you sort of get some sort of gist with the pencils. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll leave all the links there for you as well. Thanks, bye.